I see that king.
Hello friends. Welcome to this week's section of Weekly Word. If this is your first time on this channel, welcome. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and activate the bell. This week, on Weekly Word, I will talk to you about the limitless power of God. And our word will be taken from Ephesians 3 verse 20. It reads, "To him, who by means of his power, working in us, is able to do so much more than we can ever ask for, or even think of." God's power is great enough to do anything we can ask. He can do more than we can ever imagine. But someone might be thinking, what is this limitless power of God and how can I access it? Well, that's why I'm here today, to show you with these 5 steps. The first thing to do is to search the scriptures, to know Him more. When we search or read the scriptures, we actually get to know God well. Some people may say the Bible is just a compilation of stories. But just ask yourself, how can different authors write the Bible at different times and still have that kind of consistency and accuracy? It is because God inspired these authors to write what He wanted them to. The same applies to the teachers and preachers today. Whenever a person talks about the gospel, one way or the other, the person has his or her inspiration from God. If you are searching for power and you don't look for its source, you can never find it. So searching the scriptures is one major key to know God's power. The second step is to let Christ dwell in our heart. If Christ dwells within us, we indeed shall be rooted and established in love. We shall be like a tree whose roots are implanted in love. Or we shall be like a house whose foundation is embedded in love. Christ's love is wide enough to embrace all men. It is deep enough to reach down to the lowest sinner. That is the kind of love we must have in our hearts. The third step is to understand God and know His love. The love of God isn't just something we say, but rather, we must experience it in our lives. The number one thing we have to do to experience the love of God is to always put God's will first, before ours. And the second is to abstain from sin. Doing these two will really help us in our Christian journey. Just ask yourself, why will God send away 1/3 of the angels in heaven, with one of the most powerful angel in heaven as well? What God did is like sacking 1/3 of employees from a company, and also sending away the biggest shareholder. But hey, He did this because they placed their will first. Placing our will first before God's mostly leads to sin or depriving others of something great. And God hates that. If we take a look at the story of Abraham and the story of Jonah in the Bible, we see that Abraham placed God's will first in his life. He dedicated his life for God. Jonah, on the other hand, also did same as a prophet of God. But on one occasion, he placed his own will ahead of God's will. For that, he spent 3 days in the belly of a whale as a form of punishment. After the punishment, he realized the power of God. So he went to complete the assignment given to him by God. These 2 stories shows us placing our own will before God's will always makes Him angry. The fourth step is to act like a child before God. Children are humble and patient. No matter the quality and quantity of promises a parent tells his or her child, that child will always wait patiently. Children also always have their parents as role models. That's why children will always brag about things their parents buy or do for them. And this is how we should be. Meaning, we must portray ourselves as children before God. In Matthew 18 verse 4, Jesus tells His disciples, "Whosoever, therefore, shall humble himself as this little child, the same is the greatest in the kingdom of God." This is the calling of His children. We must always humble ourselves like children do. In doing that, we must always remain united, which is the last point I will talk about. In Genesis 11, 1-9, God confused a group of people with different languages. Why? Because they were united. So then what moral lesson can we learn from this? It's simple. God is moved when we are united. If we all are to settle our differences and leave behind our pride and selfish behaviors, we all can become one. And if we are all one, we are going to greatly experience the limitless power of God, not only in our lives, but in the lives of others as well. Contemplating the power of God is something that can benefit all believers. When we always think or meditate on the fact that God is all-powerful, we are reassured that He is in control of our life no matter the situation. God is a positive spirit. Everything He creates has positive function and beauty. His intention in everything for us is always positive, right and good. These points I've given you today are not easy to follow. It takes constant fellowship with God to achieve them. So please don't just listen to this message without letting it change your life. If so, then you watching this is of no use. Let's continue to build our faith in God, and we'll continue to see His glory and power in our lives. God bless you, and have an amazing week. Bye.
Weekly Word comes your way every Monday morning, right here on this channel. So in order to be the first to watch these videos, please hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to be remembered when another video comes your way. If you have any questions as well, you can leave it in the comment section below. Have a wonderful week. Bye.
And turn